My name is Diana, and today I'm speaking to someone who hasn't only witnessed the horrors of the Russia's invasion of Ukraine firsthand, but also fought on the front lines as a part of International Legion of Ukraine.
So can you introduce yourself and tell us who you are, where you're from, and what brought you to Ukraine?
My name's Kolton. Did you get that? Kolton Tollison. I had a cigarette in my mouth. I am from Texarkana, Texas. I went to Ukraine because I thought it was the right thing to do. I'm still convinced it was. It made me really angry, all the things the Russian military was doing here. And I wanted to get involved. I wanted to help them not do that by dying. And I had some success over the last few years. So I'm at some degree of success.
What was the exact moment you realized you were actually going to Ukraine? Because I believe it's not something that you just, the idea that you get in the middle of the night, laying in your bed, and then you're like, yeah, I'm going to Ukraine. So there should be some mental process behind that.
Honestly, the exact moment was the night it happened. It was the night of the 24th. So my background, I've been involved in some other kind of movements in the past. I was a disaster relief volunteer. I was with a group of friends, and we would get on with different like charities and NGOs in the United States that would go and perform disaster relief. And to me, it was the same thing. When I was originally planning to come over here, I was thinking, okay, well, I can at least do relief work. I can at least hand out bottled water. I know first aid. I can help rebuild, people's houses. I'll do something. And I didn't, the thought of fighting, you gotta understand, in those days, it was Red Dawn. It was full on, like, everyone is fighting. They were handing AKs out of the back of a truck. Okay, let's do it. So when a week later, the first week of March, Zelensky announced that they were starting the International Legion, and I was in. I was as fast as I could. Unfortunately, that wasn't very fast. And the thing is, I didn't have a passport. And most Americans don't have an international passport. We don't travel. We don't leave the United States. I mean, if you're looking for someone...
that was one of my cultural shocks.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't have international passports here.
And that's the thing, like, think of all the stuff there is to do in America. If you don't want to, you can have a good time. You can go vacation without ever leaving the country you're in. And you got skiing, the Grand Canyon, whatever. I mean, that's all people do for fun anyways, ski and go to the Grand Canyon, I guess. But no, whatever you're into, you can do that in America without ever leaving. I had never planned on, I was 26 without a passport because I didn't really plan on going anywhere, everything, I lived in Montana. I'm from Texas, but I lived in Montana. And for what I'm into, I had all of it in my backyard, basically, quite literally. I mean, I could, I was a gun guy, am a gun guy. I'm a gun nut. I had a county range that was like a $10 fee. You paid the VFW, the Veterans of Foreign Wars Association. It was the American Legion. There's a difference. I am still a member of the American Legion somehow. I haven't been to a meeting ever. But you paid them $10, or you got a yearly membership, which was also $10, and you could use the range all year. And because they were the ones responsible for it. So I could go climb mountains. I could, I lived where I vacationed. I could go hiking. I could go do target shooting. I could hunt. I could fish. I could go off-roading. Everything I like to do was in Montana. And in Texas too, if I wanted to go back home, I didn't have any reason. I had no reason to travel. And so it took me a while. It took me a while to get my passport, just because it's kind of a process in America. It takes about 6 months. And July of 22 rolled around, and it was, I'm doing this. Like, I've had friends donate to me, like give me gear and money to go over there, and I got to get over there. And finally, by that time, I had, in preparation of going to Ukraine, um, my wife at the time, we split, and our marriage was in bad shape anyway. You know, we're still friends. We still get along great. We're not in love. We don't want to be together. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it was look, if you go to Ukraine, I'm not going to be here when you get back. I said, honey, that's fine. You know, no problem.
You say that some of your friends were helping you and donated. Do you mean American friends?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A bunch of my friends I'd made in like the shooting and gun community, guys I knew, just, you know, people in Montana that I used to work with, people that I'd go off-roading with. I was in an off-road club up there, and they heard I was going to go over and help, and they like, hey man, you know, if we can, like, some of those guys would send me tools. I mean, impact wrenches, you know, anything that they could like mail. Unfortunately, they couldn't get me like a hydraulic lift for the car, but I mean, they were mailing me stuff all the time. I mean, once I was in Ukraine, people, the day I left, I had a buddy like, here's $300, feed yourself. You know, make sure you have somewhere to live when you're over there. And that was, you know, I couldn't have done this alone. A lot of my gear, like again, I was a shooter and kind of a prepper. Like I mean, I had body armor, I had a helmet, you know, but little stuff that you don't think about. God, you know, extra medical gear, little. I mean, you have your IFAK, right? But like, I'm gonna put an Israeli bandage in this pocket. I'm gonna, you know, little extra stuff to have on you. I had a friend who was an EMT in Georgia, and actually over Zoom, like we are, he did like a very fast, like first aid class for me, where he was demonstrating with like a practice dummy how to like pack a wound, how to do a tourniquet. He's like, I know you learned all this. I know you've done the stop the bleed, all that, but you need to like train. So we're gonna do this at least once. We're gonna do it like 2 more times. You know, people did. I had so much support from so many people just to come here. I credit my survival with some random guy in Bozeman, Montana, as much as I do anyone. You know, one distinction I make, like, I'm not Rambo. I'm just lucky. You know, God likes me more. I don't know. I mean, I had so much help. I mean, there were times that it's like, okay, I've got to be in this town tomorrow. I've got to take this bus, but to get there, I'm going to have to take a connecting bus. Where am I going to sleep when I'm in random village number 3,000 in Ukraine? And I had friends who were just good at figuring stuff out. Like, oh yeah, there's this hotel. Never been to Ukraine before, and I'm going to call them and pay for your room, and then you're going to take this bus the next day. I had like my own little micro intelligence community telling me like where to go and what to do when I got here. You know, hey, I need an oil change in my car. Oh, we got you. You know, here, go to this place.
Wow.
Yeah, you want to talk to, because they would go look up like, okay, what area are you in? Like roughly, oh, I'm in whatever, Chigoyev. Okay, let me go look. And they would call me back an hour later. They'd look up like just open source intel, right? Like best oil change place, Chigoyev, Ukraine, Kharkiv. Oh, well, this place has great reviews. This place doesn't. And they would call or get someone that was like a Russian or Ukrainian speaker, or they'd figure out like, who do I talk to here to get taken care of? And so some random guy in the US is, again, he's probably never been to Ukraine ever. Yeah, go to whatever STO, whatever mechanic shop, and ask for Vladimir, ask for Igor. It was awesome. And then, you know, after a while, I had made my own connections. I made friends locally. So there was always someone I could call and be like, hey, I need car parts were a big thing for me, or I need a seamstress. I've got uniforms I need fixed, because I mean, that costs money too. That's, you know, a lot of like, think about if I packed 4 uniforms, and this takes up a lot of space, and I'm now in the middle of a village in East Ukraine. Where do I get replacement uniforms? There's no army exchange out there. You know, there's not like a store we have. Well, okay, here, next time you can, go to Nova Posta, the post office. You're going to mail it to this address, and then they're going to mail it back to you fixed, and they'll text you when it's ready. I had so much support from people in the United States and from later, like in Ukraine and really everywhere. I could not have done this alone. And the thing is, one foreign volunteer, if he's going to succeed, he's got 30, 40 people helping him that those like rainy day friends. That's one of the reasons I'm still active on social media, is to keep up with those guys. Like it's, I'll tell you, logistics wins wars. And when this started, and even these days, like, you're coming to Ukraine from a foreign country to join the army and go fight. You don't have a grandma and a papa, or you don't have like a mom and dad that you can, in Ukraine, that you can go stay with, right? You don't have someone to mail you. Like, I can't pick up the phone and say, Mom, I need socks. I've got to figure that out, And so to make up for that, so many people in the US and abroad that support us, and people in Ukraine too. There are so many people I met here and organizations that are like, we provide free socks and like camping gear for soldiers. We couldn't do it without them. Really, logistics is such a big thing. Like, I can think of like maybe 4 awesome dudes that I met in like fighting with that are like the best people ever. I met good people, but I mean like people that people I'd let babysit my kids. I was so much happier when we had a guy pull up at the safe house he's a random civilian from Nebraska, and he's got a truckload of socks and MREs than, we got another soldier, we got another mouth to feed.
I spent a lot of time on social media.
Yeah.
And I see how people talk about the war that's going on in Ukraine. Because people have no idea how modern warfare looks like, how it all works. Very often I see videos, let's say from Lviv, of people just living life. And there will be a bunch of comments saying, where is the war? Where is the war?
Yeah.
So, from your perspective, what's one most important thing that average American doesn't understand about the war in Ukraine?
It's everywhere. It is everywhere, and it's all the time.
Tell us everything.
Okay, I'm in Lviv. Lviv is arguably probably one of the safest places you could be, but we still get shaheeds and missiles, and every second I'm here, it's in my mind. Right now, I could be dead. A ballistic missile that I can't even hear. You'll hear a shaheed. A ballistic missile could hit this building and kill me, and I wouldn't even know it happened. And that's constantly. That's all the time. It's not as bad it's obviously not as bad in my nice warm apartment. I'm drinking a beer, talking to Diana, having a smoke, as it is at the front where you're getting hit with artillery and drones. It's like that constant risk of death never fully goes away. And even though it's not likely where I am, I am much more likely to die in a car accident, but that risk is always in the back of your mind. I'm not going to die of a car accident sitting in my living room. I'm relatively healthy. I'm probably not going to have a brain aneurysm, and that gets to you. I was traveling recently. I went to go see some friends in Sweden and Poland, and like the minute you're over the border out of Ukraine, it's like such a weight lifts off your shoulders, because I'm not going to get drone striked or missiled in Warsaw or Stockholm. And that's I meet new volunteers here, and I tell them, like, look, don't wear uniforms, don't post shit on social media that shows where you're. And again, we have supporters in the States. We want them to have the social media stuff, so they know their time and effort and money and support, the stuff they mail, the jackets and socks and magazine pouches, that's going to do something. and our families want to know that what we're doing and where we are. But we have to think, okay, if I have me and my circle of friends and it's like 5 or 6 dudes and we're all here to fight and we're posting a selfie, like a group selfie outside a hotel, you're going to get that hotel bombed. You're going to get you're going to get a cruise missile through the roof of that hotel because the Russian government's monitoring that and they're looking for groups of soldiers. Even one guy, if you're alone, they will probably assume that if there's one, there's more, and they could be wrong, but they don't care. They're just as happy to kill one guy as they are 8. And you like people, oh, you're not really in Ukraine, post proof. That is almost definitely someone fishing for intel. I got a lot of that back in the day in 22. If you're really over there, post a picture with a timestamp. You'd have to be an idiot, If I get that now, which I don't often, but if I get that now, I'll let me get you an MGRS, like let me get you a grid reference, so you can let me make sure the missile's going to hit me. If I'm that dumb, then I deserve it, and it's like, again, you're not here to prove anything to anyone. If someone, oh, you need to prove you're actually, oh, no, I fucking don't. What are you going to do? Sue me. If I need to prove to you I'm over here, fuck you, man. Like, there was a kid in Ireland who was out in the woods in like his airsoft gear pretending to be fighting in Ukraine with he would dub in like sound effects, like war sound effects. And that fucked a lot of us up because oh, you're just like that kid in Ireland who was out fucking doing meth and like rolling around in the woods pretending he was in Ukraine. Like, man, fuck you, No, I'm not. I don't care. The other thing is, and you don't get a lot of this these days. People used to tell me all the time, oh, the war's not real. It's not really happening. It's fake.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's such a popular narrative, actually. I think Russia was the one who started spreading it, but it's very much amplified by conspiracy theorists in the United States. And it's crazy. Just, it's not that hard. And as far as I know, American citizens can actually go to Ukraine and stay there for as long as 30 days without any kind of visa. Get a ticket, go there, and just see that sad.
That's what I was telling them is if it's fake, go to Kyiv. You'll have a great time. Kyiv's got all kind of bars. Go to Odessa. I didn't like Odessa, but it's a waterfront town. It's by the ocean. There's Arcadia. And I tell them that, like, okay, go to Ukraine, and if you're wrong, either way, you're gonna have fun. Go party. Go out to eat. Go out to the bars. Go. But go there and go to what's that at Arcadia? There's a big like open air nightclub on the beach, right? It's like always a rave. Go there and you'll have a hell of a time. And I promise you, do that for 3 days and your party is going to be interrupted by a ballistic missile or a shaheed. I guarantee you. If the war's fake, get up and go to Ukraine. Trust me. Oh, well, they'll stop me at the border. No, they won't. And if they do, okay, you're in Poland. Poland's cool too. You won't waste a trip, and it's cheap. It's dirt cheap to have a good time over here. You can get I had a luxury apartment for 2 weeks in Rennock Square in the middle of Lviv. When I took leave after my buddy died, and I stayed there, and this is it was like living in a mansion, and I'm on a balcony right in the middle of town, in the middle of the party. You know how much that cost me? $300 in America. That would probably be in the ballpark of like 5,000 in any major city. And so I told him, go to Ukraine, party, have fun, get to know people, and tell me there's no fucking war. You don't have to go east. You don't have to go to Kharkiv. You don't have to go to Sloviansk. You don't have to do any of that shit.
That's the thing. You don't have to look for the war. You don't have to try to go to the front zone. Just be anywhere, literally in Ukraine, and you will see it.
And look at all the poor guys walking around here with missing arms and legs. And I remember my first month in Ukraine. I told you earlier when we were just talking. I lived nearby where I am now with a lady friend of mine. And I remember the first soldier I met, he was this guy, younger guy, maybe, I don't know, early 20s, and he's with his mom and dad, I'm guessing, based on his age and their age, probably his mom and dad, maybe his grandparents, and they're pushing this poor kid down the street in a wheelchair, and his left leg has been amputated mid-thigh. His elbow stops right here. He's got no left arm, and he has been burned. The whole left side of his face, missing a left eye. Left eye's gone. Whole left side of his face is just like second degree burns, right? Skin's peeling and shit. Had his uniform on. That was the first like Ukrainian military personnel, aside from the border guards, that I actually met. And you know, just you'll see them if I could sit on the balcony all day and I'd probably see 100 guys like that. And you're going to tell me the war's fake? Where'd this kid lose his fucking leg? Where'd he lose his arm and his eye? You know, fucking he's got one eyebrow because the other one's been burnt off. I mean, you know, it's like, I don't understand. I have conspiracy theories. I'm not going to get into them, but like, I wasn't there and I can't prove it. You know, or they wouldn't be theories. The idea that the war in Ukraine is not happening is one of the most, it's absurd to me. That is absolutely ridiculous. And there are thousands of people that believe that. There were people that I used to go shoot with, people that I would do like training with and shit back in the States that are like, you know, these militia types. Fair enough. That's your right. You know, you should do that. You should organize in your community. You should go shoot guns. I love that. If more people did that in Ukraine, we might be further east than we are. But you know, I had this woman who was like an organizer for all these fucking right-wing protests and shit, and we were friends. And she, oh, the war's not even real, and you're lying. It's stolen valor. Okay, Debbie, I will get you a fucking ticket. I will buy your ticket to fucking Warsaw, and I will get your bus ticket to Lviv, and then you can ride with me. I will pick you up, and I will drive you to the war.
It's insane. Yeah. It's insane. You know why? Because the idea behind any conspiracy theory is that you cannot really prove it right and you cannot prove it wrong. I mean, surely you probably can with some effort, but it's like about flat Earth, right? You say that the Earth is not flat, and they say, well, have you seen it? Have you been in space? You're not an astronaut. I'm not an astronaut, so we cannot prove it. But in this case, you can actually be the astronaut. You can go and see. So well, I don't know why to build a theory when you can actually go and check.
If they want to believe it, they're going to believe it.
Okay, I have next question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is kind of hard. What's one moment on or off the battlefield that you will never forget?
Be the day Brock Greenwood died. We had this kid from Australia. He's from Hervey Bay, Queensland. We called him Chippy. His name was Brock, but we called him Chippy because his favorite snack was fish and chips.
Mm-hmm.
And fuck, I didn't think I'd be telling this story today, but I will because I said I would. You know, he was one of those guys that just sort of naturally excelled at whatever he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
He was 24. He'd grown up in Queensland in Hervey Bay, which is it's like a beach town. You know, it's full of hippies. And as I understand, talking to him and then later his mom and his sister, it's a very laid back kind of place. And he'd always wanted to be a soldier. And I'd asked him, like, why didn't you join the Australian Defence Force? He's like, because I want to fight. I didn't want to, you know, go play around in the sand and do push-ups. I wanted to go fight. I was like, all right. And so he was my friend. You know, he was a really good dude. We were roommates in the Legion. And, you know, he was the team leader for Thorne Group, which was like a special purpose team within 2nd Battalion Legion. And these guys, I mean, they were hot shit. They were badasses. And I was a military driver. And when Chippy moved in with me, he's like, you know, he moved in with me. And we got to know each other. And, you know, I had driven them out on mission a few times. And, you know, I guess I impressed him. He's like, you're my driver now. was like, all right, man, you got it. And what I liked about him, he always deferred. Like he took charge, and he was one of those guys that like commanded respect. That's not demanded. You automatically liked him. You automatically wanted to do what he wanted you to do. You automatically respected him the minute you met him.
Mhm.
And he rode out with me a couple times. He's like, "You're my driver now," and I was like, "All right." And that was that. So I was with Thorne Group right then, and um, time went on. Some months went by, and we're hanging out and having a good time. I mean, we had an all right late spring, early summer, and I mean, we bonded. Like you live with someone, I mean, he slept 6 feet away from me, right? His bed was right next to mine, and we had this special purpose kind of mission, and most of our guys, they were with another detachment in the north. Like they were working up on the border, nowhere near us. So he was like, "Hey, I need a shooter for this." And one of the weapons we were using, the FN FAL, that's the one I've got tattooed on my arm. He's like, you're probably an expert. You've got the blueprint for that gun on your right arm. I was like, dude, I know how to. I was like, brother, I've owned like 6 of those fucking things. Like I could, yeah, I can use a FAL. And we'd gone and shot together. He's like, "You're good enough. I'll take it." And we went out on this mission that we had put together. Like we wrote this mission, me, him, and another guy from New Zealand that I'm still really good friends with. And it was a hit. I mean, it went off without a hitch. We smoked a bunch of them, the enemy, and none of our guys got even seriously hurt. The Kiwi guy, the New Zealander, we call him Kiwi, so I hope I didn't offend any of our listeners from down under or in New Zealand. He took a little bit of shrapnel through the web of his thumb. But he wasn't going to die. So that was our only injury for the mission. The night before, we had another guy with another team get hurt, and me and him patched him up, and but that wasn't us, right? All of our guys were cool. So we had this big mission. I mean, it was crazy. We got machine guns, fucking, I'm over here smoking dudes with a FAL. We had one of our guys, a kid from Colombia. He went just ape shit. I'd never seen an RPG fired that fast because everyone knows what an RPG is. You got to reload the thing like a musket and then fire it again. But he made it sound like it was a fucking like just zoom, zoom, zoom. I mean, it was insane. It went great. It went absolutely wonderful. And a week later, they retaliated, did the same thing to our position as we did from the same position we were shooting from. They came and did the same thing to us. And the way that went down, Chippy and another kid from Brazil that was also with us, a really good guy as well. We called him Sierra. They were out working on the trench because the thing is, trenches got to be someone's got to build them, and then once they're built, you got to maintain them. You got to make because the ground will fall in, and it'll kind of cave in over time, and you got to go dig it back out. And right up next to that position, we had a little stretch of this trench that had not been taken care of. We called it Death Alley, and in places, this trench was ankle deep. You couldn't lay down in it, so it wasn't even there. Well, I remember bitching at Chippy about that. Not at him like it was his fault, but like, man, these fuckers out there, these people that are out, they need to go dig that damn trench out. Take one guy with a shovel, have him crawl out there for 5 minutes, a little bit at a time, and dig it. And by the end of the day, it'll be fine. And maybe I often wonder, and it's probably just survivor's guilt, but I often wonder if maybe me bitching about that because he looked up in a way, Chippy looked at me as a guy with experience, even though I didn't have the position or we don't really have rank here, but like he looked at me as a guy that knew what he was talking about. And I'm wondering if in his mind he wasn't like, oh, well, Scooter is saying, let's go work on this fucking trench. Well, let's go work on the trench. Because we talked about it a lot, and it was usually me like, man, fuck that shit. We need to fix this. So him and Sierra are out there digging that trench out early in the morning, same time we hit them the week before. He always, these days with the drones, and this was 24, but back then it was about as bad. I mean, you want to do everything in the daylight and like dusk and dawn, right as the sun's coming up or right as the sun's going down. So about probably this being summertime, it would have been about 4 a.m. Right as the sun's coming up, they're out digging this trench out. Russians sent an element, an assault team that was probably like 15 people. They sent them and just ran over that position. The way they did that, when you're digging a trench, that's kind of all you can focus on. It's hard fucking work. I don't know if they even had their weapons. There has been some debate over that. I remember telling Chippy, like, there had been a couple months before this in the same position that he had observed 2 enemy personnel within not that far away, but he didn't have his weapon because he was digging the trench. And there was a machine gun nest manned up by 2 Ukrainians right next there that's supposed to cover that sector partially so they can work on the trench. And those cats were sitting there in the trench, like they're sitting up against the wall in the floor, smoking and drinking coffee. And he's like, Klopsy, Peter Tom, oh, no big deal. What do you mean no big deal? You're here to kill the enemy, dude. You're here to fucking kill them. And I'm convinced now that was a probe. They were trying to see if those boys were about it or not. And they weren't. They were trying to see if our guys were there to do their job, because if I'm convinced had that machine gun crew engaged and killed those 2, this never would have happened. Months prior, like this is months ago. But you got to think the commander sends guys out just like us. Okay, we didn't get any fire over here, so those, probably we could assault this area with some degree of safety. And the day they assaulted that position, the first thing they did was RPG that machine gun nest and kill both of those guys. And I think it may have been the same guys, and they were asleep on the job. I mean, that's all it came down to. From what I heard from other people that were there and survived, had those 2 clowns been doing their job, Chippy and them would probably still be alive. And I think part of me is glad. Part of me hopes it's those 2, and part of me is glad they're dead. Whoever was there that wasn't doing his job. I was there on that position, and I have a video of this I'll find later when I'm ready, where we're walking through this position, and we're talking. These 2 Ukrainian cats are there. We're talking to them. What's going on, guys? How we doing? Like, jak spravi? Dobry den bullshit. And I remember this fucking video. They had their machine gun leaning in the corner. Now, understand this position. It's like a little fucking lookout, like a little dugout. Think of it like a baseball dugout, right? But it's got like another wall in front of it, and there's 2 little windows for gun ports, right? Well, and there's like a platform built where the gun's supposed to sit. Well, instead of having it up there, cocked, locked, and ready to rock, these guys have it leaning up in the corner of the fucking little structure, and it's not loaded. The dust cover is open, which is like the little top part. You'll see in like a Vietnam movie, they open the dust cover up and they stuff more bullets in it, and then they shake it a little bit with the charging hand, and then you can shoot it, right? You gotta aggravate the machine gun and get it ready to fire. The fucking thing's sitting there unloaded with the dust cover open for God knows how long. Who knew if it was even fucking functional? And a good gunner, I would say, could probably get that gun up like from there on the gun port, loaded, charged, and firing within probably 6 seconds. That'd be my guess. And I'm not I was a machine gunner. I didn't do really any training for it. I've shot the machine gun. I've carried the machine gun. I can load the machine gun. I can take apart the machine gun, but like, I didn't go to the fucking school for it. You know what I mean? I don't have a degree in machine guns. So, and 6 seconds would not have been fast enough. And maybe that's me looking for someone to blame, but I know the facts, and those are the facts. One of the reasons my friend is dead is because the people that were supposed to protect him were not ready, and they failed to do their job. And, God help their families, God help their souls, rest in peace. Absolutely. I'm sorry you 2 had to be there. I'm sorry it was those 2 and not anyone else that was prepared to do his job. I'm sorry you're dead. And I wish to hell that these 2 had spent the rest of their lives doing whatever being a barista, being a fucking bus driver, whatever they were doing. The first thing they do is they put AT, like an RPG, in on the it's anti-tank, right? They put that in on the machine gun nest and kill both of them, and then they moved up into the trench. Frag grenades. That's the way we do it too. They frag the trench, and then they had their point man. So the first guy was carrying the machine gun, the PKM, and that's a little unorthodox, but it works when you're in a trench. You know, in the Western world, we don't really train to have our machine gunner be the first guy because he's too important. But trench broom, and they fragged Sierra and Chippy. Sierra, well, I'll get to. They threw a grenade and then they shot him. They move up, start clearing the bunker. While this is going on, like they're moving up. My boy, I won't name him, but he's a friend of mine from Georgia that told me how this went down. I had a video. I have to see if I still have it. He's trying to drag Chippy down the trench by his plate carrier, and we had a video of him getting shot through the arm, and it's a tracer. You can see this machine gun round go through his right arm, and he kept the arm, but he was messed up. He's still in the army. I don't know what he's doing, but he's still out there somewhere. We talk a lot, but I don't know exactly where he's working nowadays. And so he says he fucking dropped Chippy and ran. I mean, he couldn't use his hand. It broke like his ulmus and radius, the two bones, broke them both. Big fucking rifle wound in his right arm. You got to think, like anyone watching this from America, you're probably familiar with the Mosin-Nagant rifle. Same bullet, but it's a machine gun. It's like a deer rifle, and Dotto booked it, got the fuck out of there, and they fucking smoked like everybody else there, And eventually, they left. They weren't there to hold the position. They were just gonna hold. They're just, they just wanted to kill everyone and leave. And but the thing was, we had a bunch of ammo and weapons and like a Browning 50 cal in that bunker. And so our combat or polkovnik, our battalion commander, had an artillery strike put in on that bunker. We hit our own bunker and blew it up, so they couldn't have any of that stuff. And then so I got woken up that morning as all this is happening because the drone team knew me. I was working with them for a little bit. I was their driver, and they knew that I knew Chippy and Sierra really well, and a bunch of these guys, and they needed me to help identify the bodies from the air, like with the drone. And so they woke me up, like, man, what the fuck, why are you calling me, dude? Why aren't you out working? Yeah, I need your help. What's up, man? I need you to identify casualties. And I knew Chippy had gone out there. I think he left like the night before. He went out there like the night before, and I just knew. They didn't have to even tell me who they thought it was. I had to look at I knew it was him. I fucking knew in my pit. I knew the day he left. I knew he wasn't coming back. I don't know how. I knew that, but I did. I had this gut feeling like I'm never going to see him again alive. So I fucking they video call me. They show me the camera, like the feed on the drone, and I could recognize Sierra had a long black ponytail, long black hair, and I could tell it was him by his hair. And then Chippy, I could tell it was him based on his uniform, and because he always wore like high dollar. He had nice gear. He had like the nice cry pants, and he always wore these like athletic compression shirts, almost like a thermal, but like track runners will wear. And I recognized that because nobody else is wearing a skin tight fucking I mean, I didn't, hell no. And I went over to the command post. I got off the phone with them. I told them, yeah, that's Sierra, that's Chippy for sure. And I went over to the command post, and they fucking Had the company commander, he just came out and looked at me. He just looked me in my eyes, and he didn't have to say a word, but he just looked at me like, I'm sorry. You know, he just looked me straight in my face like, I'm sorry. And he had this look in his eyes of just pity for me. I mean, he's the one who just lost like 11 people, but he looked at me like, I don't know, like I was a stray dog. Just absolute pity. So the next thing I did was I took a minute to freak out. I went around the corner of the house and screamed. And I went back over to our safe house where me and Chippy lived. And we each had two weapons. I had an AKSU and I had the FAL. So I had like a little short AK and I had the FN FAL marksman's rifle. Chippy had an AK-74 and a mini-me. Well, that day he had brought the AK-74, and I believe the enemy got that. They captured his weapon. But we had a mini-me, light machine gun, or SAW over there. In America, we call it the SAW, or squad automatic weapon. I grabbed that SAW and a couple belts. So I had, what's a SAW belt? I probably had a couple hundred rounds on me. You know, I went out... And I remember at the time I was having problems with my pickup truck, not wanting to start. So I went out and got on my bike and my motorcycle, and I'm trying to start it. It's just not wanting it. Turned out later my spark plug was worn out, and I was going to go get my friend, and I was going to get both of them. Well, before I could get the bike started, I guess the company commander sent the chaplain over to check on me. Big old Brazilian guy. That's Padre. I won't name his name either, but everybody knows Padre and everyone loves him. Ask anyone that was in the Legion about Padre. They'll know who you're talking about. Awesome guy. Still talk to him now. Wonderful man. Came over. He's like, my son, what are you doing? I gotta go get my friend, dude. I gotta go get my friend. Like my friends, both of them are dead. I need to go. No one's going to get them. They're just laying out there. I gotta go get them. And he's fighting me. Like he's taking my gun away, taking the mini-me away from me, pushes me off the bike, fucking gets me back up, and he's just hugging me. And I found out later he rode too. You don't want to leave a motorcycle on its side. He stood the bike up for me and brings me in the house, and I'm crying at this point. I'm losing it. And he sits me down in we had like a big couch thing, the Slavic village couch. We had one of the babushka couch. He sits me down at the babushka couch. And while I'm crying, he went to every gun in the house. Like he found even the shit we weren't really supposed to have, which we had a couple little tools that we had come across. And he was just looking for guns. He'd put all my grenades in a shopping bag and all this shit. Got every weapon in that house. Unloaded it, put the magazine away. I guess they were worried I was going to off myself. I wasn't really depressed in this. I didn't want to die. I wanted to go kill someone else. I want to go kill the enemy. I want to get my friend back. And he's asking me, was your plan to, okay, you who are a 90 kilogram, 6'1", I'm a pretty big guy compared to the average, Ukrainian or South American. I'm a big dude. Compared to Padre, I'm not a very big guy. But he's like, your plan was to take you, the heaviest weapon you have, the machine gun, and a motorcycle, and go out there and get 2 dead guys and come back. And I was like, yeah, that sounds kind of dumb now that I think about it. He's like, my son, you're not thinking. Think about this. And he's like, oh, I know they were your friends or your brothers. I was like, he was I didn't know him as long as a lot of the guys did, but we lived together for 3 months. We went everywhere together for 3 fucking months, almost 24/7. I was in there around this kid, and as he is my brother, he's like me. He's another me, and I end up. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it together. 2 years later, not quite 2, but 2 years later, and he prayed with me. He's Orthodox, and I'm American Protestant. Like I grew up in the Baptist and non-denominational churches, which are basically pretty much the same, And but we prayed. I confessed. I told him everything I'd ever done. I told him like every time like I'd cheated on my girlfriend or my wife. I told him every time I stole when I was a little kid. Like I told him about stealing from the fucking baseball team fundraiser. Like we were selling beef jerky and I just ate all the beef jerky because it was good. And how like my grandma whooped my ass and made me pay for it with my fucking savings, my little piggy bank. I told him everything I ever did wrong that I can remember. And then I had a house. This was kind of near Le Mans in a little village. I had a house in Sloviansk that I rented. I actually lived with a bunch of the drone team guys, and I went over to the company commander. I was like, "Look, I got to go home. I gotta go back to my place. I'll be back. I'll be back tonight." But I'm going with you. If when they get the bodies back, I'm going with you to see them. And he said, okay, we're working on it. He's like, you need to be back here. If you're going to go with me to the morgue, you need to be back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. And I went home. I just went back to bed. I went to my little my room in the little rent house. We had a really nice house, and I just went back to bed. I woke up that night as soon as it was getting dark, and I got back on the bike. I rode back up to the village where I lived with Chippy, and I didn't sleep a wink. I don't think I slept maybe 30 minutes that night. And the company commander came out, and we didn't talk at all. We didn't talk at all until we were at the morgue. I was waiting outside the command post house, and he just kind of, come on. And I went and got in the truck with him, and I don't think we said a word the whole way, which was weird because usually when we were together, we talked a lot. I talk a lot. Like me and him were both chatty, and we'd like talk. We had a pretty good relationship. And then we went to the Sloviansk morgue. Before we went there, he's like, "Trust me, before you see this, like you need to whatever you're gonna eat it now, or you're not gonna eat the rest of the day." You need to get some coffee if you do coffee. And I don't really drink coffee, but he bought me a cup anyway. I'm an energy drink guy, And, God, I don't know if I want to tell you about. I mean, I don't mind telling you. I don't know if you want to hear about I had to identify their bodies, and
I just think I might have to censor some things because of social media censorship, unfortunately.
I'll tell you this, okay? Sierra looked like he was asleep. He was definitely dead, but like he had one gunshot wound. Chippy had more. Chippy was bad. Chippy was in a very bad way. He was intact. I'll tell you that, but he was not good at all. I'm really glad. I would do it again, and I'd done it before. Somebody I was friends with, somebody I worked with. When I was a driver, we'd pull people out. Someone that died, we'd put them in the back of the truck. Usually they're wrapped up, and I'm driving. I'm at work. I can't. But I'm literally here to see my dead friend's body, and then I have to sign the way they do this, and I didn't know this until we got there, and the captain explained it to me. The company commander, the captain, same thing, He explained, he's like, look, so the way this works is we have an officer that knew these guys, like from their unit, usually their company commander or someone that was above them in the chain of command, and then an enlisted man that knew them, usually someone that was in their team or lived with them, which I did. And we're both going to sign an affidavit. They call it something else, but in America, we call it an affidavit. And it's basically a legal paper saying, I am verifying who this person is and how. And I had to write, like, I can confirm this is Brock Greenwood based upon this tattoo. He had like a dog tag necklace. He like with his name on it, and the thing is when they're doing this, and I have so much respect for those people because I had limited exposure to the dead, and the people that work in that morgue, it's all day. It's like a factory. I mean, these people in hazmat suits, in the summer sun. That was the hottest day of the year. And I'll let your mind figure out what that was like. It was the hottest day. I think it was the hottest day on record ever in Ukraine. It was July 5th and July 6th. So that would have been July 6th of 2024. And God, but the way they do this is kind of like they bring these people out, and you have all these guys, the living, that are there to identify their colleagues, are just standing around. And so there's like 20 fucking people here, just random Ukrainian guys I don't fucking know. And they'll bring like a bag out and they open it up. Well, so the other thing, we got out of the truck, we went to there's a little gas station like around the corner. We went and got a hot dog and some coffee, and we came back and we get out and they had like a little portable building. Like in America, you can rent the pods and it's like a little portable garage, right? It's got like a roll up door. They had one of those and it was open, and they had a white bag out here and they had it open, and they had a guy with a clipboard and he's taking pictures on his phone. And I look at the bag and I could see like this red brown fluid on the inside of like the opening of the bag, and I could see a pair of ribs, like rib bones sticking out. And I look in this fucking little portable building and there's like another maybe 12 bags lined up in it. And Captain saw me looking, and I look at him like, they're not in there, they're not, my buddies are not in that fucking thing. No. I just looked at him and he's like, don't worry, that's the enemy. That's the Russians. That's still fucking unsanitary and horrifying, dude. Like, so they're putting these guys in the back of this truck. And I'm like, all right, well, fuck that, whatever. I mean, I'm not here for them, right? They're putting these guys in the back of this truck, and right about then the fucking smell of this place, because it's got a gravel driveway. It's got like a gravel parking area. Now think about that. A cement driveway like you might have at home, you can spray that off, you can bleach that. You don't get smells out of gravel. It soaks into the ground. And I get there and the fucking smell, when I was a kid, when I was like 18, one of my first jobs, I worked in slaughterhouses, like not like butcher shops, but like where they butcher the cows and like, and what they do with the extra parts, the heads, the hooves, the guts, that all goes in like a barrel, like in a bunch of like old drums out behind the building. And in the North Texas and Southern Oklahoma sun, it smells really fucking bad. But it was nothing like this. The first time I smelled that when I was like 18 working that job, I gagged. I lit a fucking cigarette and kept pushing, and I went and made some money. And when I was 28, smelling that at the morgue, it was just worlds worse. It was so much fucking worse. People smell worse. I don't know why. We get up there and they're all right. Captain talks to this guy that worked there, some guy, I don't know, typical like younger Ukrainian dude with the beard and tattoos. He wants to look like an American Special Forces guy, and he's got his fucking Ruger pistol on his hip and shit. And they fucking bring these dudes out, and right there in front of everyone, they open them up so you can see this poor dead guy, some of whom look like they had been dead a year. They didn't look human, just black and green, like a black and green fucking blob with a skull and ribs. And they bring our guys out, fucking, they fucking, all right, Sierra. And they open this kid's bag up, and there he is, pretty as ever. We always called him pretty because he had this long black hair, like I said, And I wish I'd asked him, like, what do you do, man? Like, how do you? But for some reason, they wanted to roll. You couldn't see a wound. I remember thinking, like, Sierra's not fat. Why is his stomach distended? Well, they rolled him over. I don't remember why. They were speaking Ukrainian. I couldn't understand him anyway. They rolled him over, and this kid had a 30 caliber hole, like a 7.62, like the PKM machine gun fires in the small of his back. One bullet hole in his back. And I remember looking, because I'm right here. Like, I managed, like, I'm right here. I remember seeing like a piece of bone. It hit him right in the spine. and I could tell there was a piece of bone visible through that bullet hole, but it was a clean entry, no exit. And I'm sitting here, and the one thing crosses my mind is like, if we had got you to a medic, if a medic had got to you somehow, you'd have damn sure you'd have survived that, but you'd never walk again. You may not have wanted to. He was a real active guy. He was, fucking. I mean, he's a motorcycle guy too. Like you probably wouldn't have wanted to live, but you could have. And rolled him back over. For some reason, I reached up and like brushed his eyes just barely open. He was fucking sleeping. Reached up and brushed his hair out of his face. I don't know why I did that. And zipped him back up. I helped him load him in the truck. And I remember they brought Chippy out, and this lady that worked there, she spoke a little English. She's looking. She says, "Look, he's worse." All right. Well, that's all right. I mean, I'm here to identify him. That's why I'm here. And they open him up, and that young man had been like I won't tell you how it was bad. Like, if not for his tattoos, I couldn't recognize him. And I remember like he'd bullets like his pants were fucking ripped open. And I fucking I took the edge of his trousers, like his combat trousers that had been fucking ripped, and I like kind of pulled it back over to cover him up. And then I remember he had anything that can identify them, they get a picture of. So like he had a dog tag necklace with his name and his call sign on it that he had, like a bunch of the guys had. I didn't have one, but he had one. A bunch of guys on that team had one. And I remember they picked him up to because they could tell he was wearing a necklace, and they wanted a picture of it. And they pull it around, and I remember the guy going, he picks Chippy up by his shirt and drags his necklace out around. And when he did that, he compressed his lungs, and he had like his nose and mouth start bleeding. And the guy doing this little old guy, I mean, the guy had to be 60, fucker, Oh, it's Imya. It's a name. And he gets a picture of it with a cell phone. And they zipped him up. Remember that truck where they were putting the Russians in, like the enemy? That's where they were putting our friends. They had them stacked on top of each other. They had the Russians in there first, and they stacked our guys up on top of them. And I don't think that's any kind of like, fuck you, Russia. That's like because our guys get dropped off first, and the Russians go somewhere else, I'm pretty sure. And I helped him load Sierra in the truck. Sierra was my friend, but we weren't like super tight. I liked him a lot. I loved him. I loved hanging out with him, but me and Chippy were a lot closer, and I helped him put Sierra in the truck, but I couldn't make myself put Chippy in the back of that truck, like laying on top of the enemy in the dark. I couldn't do that. I could not, and I just sort of looked at the captain. We had a good communication thing going, me and him. We're kind of tuned in. I just looked at him. I just shook my head, and I went around the corner. I walked around the corner of the building, of the morgue, and I squatted down, and like I managed to get my gloves off. I didn't really like touch any nasty stuff, but like I took my gloves off, threw them out in the fucking grass, and I squatted down behind this building, and I'm sitting here holding my temples, and I realize I'm hearing this noise that sounds like a cow that's been hit by a truck, and I realize that's me. This like scream, like this noise coming out of me. I'd never heard that before. I couldn't recreate it if I tried. Just this, and I got up. The whole time I'm just smoking. I'm trying to quit. I'm trying to quit now, smoking to keep the smell out of my nose, and I guess for the stress. And I walked back, and I fucking filled out the little paper and handed it back to him. And the captain's like, "You ready to go?" I'm like, "Yep." And they're bringing more people out, and I'm trying not to look at them. I tried. They're painted in my mind's eye. I'm never going to stop seeing these kids. And it's like, okay, here's the deal. Here's why this was hard. You got to remember, this is my second deployment. Before that, when I would see dead people, they were usually at the front, and I don't have time to really focus on them. They become kind of part of the background. Well, in this case, it's a warm, sunny day in the middle of suburban Sloviansk, right? There's a fucking Akko or like a gas station right down there within sight of this place where I just had a hot dog and coffee. There's ladies pushing baby strollers. There's grannies walking dogs. It looks like normal life. And I'm here looking at a pile of decomposing corpses, two of whom are my friends. That's why, and I think, it's like that's why it bothered me seeing them in that environment. Like if I went outside right now in Lviv and there was a fucking dead body in the middle of the road, that would probably fuck me up a lot more than if I saw a dead guy in a trench in a war, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And finally, all right, time to go. And we fucking get back in the truck, and the commander, he loves coffee, and he's like, all right, we need to figure out, now that we've done that, we got to call Chippy and Sierra's moms. Now I can get, because the chaplain is also from Brazil, like Sierra, he can call her, but if you want, you can call Chippy's mom because you're his friend. That's how it works over here. In most countries, a chaplain or an officer at least will do it. But over here, it's kind of a tradition where whoever was friends with the guy calls the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really glad. And we're trying to get, like, we had her number, but it wasn't working. I couldn't dial it, like, because I'm in Ukraine. She's in fucking Australia. And finally, I had to look this poor woman up on Facebook because there's a timeline. I've got to get this done, like today. I had to look this poor woman up on Facebook, and I sent her a friend request. Well, she accepted. And then I said, ma'am, are you Brock Greenwood's mother? In a message. She said, I sure am. And I said, I got to call you. And I called her. I said, good morning. It was morning there, I think. I said, good morning. Is this Brock Greenwood's mother? She said, yes, it is. And I could hear in her voice, like, could hear the kind of tremolo in her voice. She knew. She knew. And I told her like the same script they do in the U.S. Like, ma'am, I regret to inform you, yesterday morning at approximately 5 a.m., your son, Brock Greenwood, was killed in action. And I hear in the background his sister just flies to pieces. My brother's dead. Like, I knew this was going to happen. I told him to come home. And his mama didn't yell. She just kind of, well, how did it happen? And I could hear that she's in shock. And I told her, ma'am, I went to identify his body just a few minutes ago, and I'm not an expert, I'm not a doctor, but I would believe it was enemy small arms fire. And she said, well, what do I do? I said, well, the Ukrainian consulate in Australia will be in touch with you. His body's going to be repatriated, and I'll have the unit, like the officer in charge of that, contact you very shortly. And I forget who that was, but they contacted her later that day with like the how to get him back to Australia, how to file to receive his like life insurance, like there's a payout your family gets if you die. Most foreigners' families don't get that because you have to come to Ukraine. And his mom is planning to do that soonish. And but I told her, look, if I hear anything, I'll call you. And she said, well, did you know him? I said, ma'am, your son was the best friend I've ever had. She was happy it was someone that knew him and not some prick officer, 500 miles away that never met him and had probably never even fought. And me and his mom, Sandy, we're still friends now. We talk every day, And I told her, I can't replace your son, but if you ever wanted another one, I don't have a mama, so. And then I went back. I had the captain. I had him drop me off at the post office because I had something to pick up, and I fucking walked home. I fucking walked back home, and then that night, I had someone drop me off back in the village to get my bike, and a couple days later, I went on leave. And then when I came back from a little 2 weeks off, I just couldn't do it anymore. I went and broke contract. I went and told the captain, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I punched an officer. That's another story. But that's a funny story, not a sad one. But I went and told the captain, like, sir, I'm sorry, I just can't do it anymore. I'm wore out. I've had 2 years of this shit, and I just can't. And he's like, I knew you were going to say that. He's like, I don't know why you even came back. He told me you could have stayed there, and I was going to just break your contract. And you could, he's like, I was like, yeah, but I wanted to come back and make sure all the gear was, turned in and see you one last time. And that was that. I told him, like, I just can't do it. At that point, I think Chippy might have been 12 or 13 if I'm counting the friends I've lost here, but that was just my breaking point. I'd seen friends killed in front of me. I'd carried people out in like basically a fucking trash bag because they're blown to pieces. I had a Ukrainian friend who used to help me work. I had a Lada. I went and bought a Lada in Ukraine, which, if you don't know, it's a shitty little Russian car, but it was a great car for me. But I was working on it, and it needed a lot of work because it's a Lada.
Where did you get that from?
I bought it from some villager out there, and
Nice.
this guy would come help me. This other Ukrainian soldier would come help me work on my car in the fucking freezing cold, and then he'd bring me inside and like feed me pizza and give me like vodka and let me use his internet, like his Starlink, because we didn't have it. And I remember I watched him fucking die. I watched him get fucking just vaporized. It's just fucking like he's sitting there and you see this flash and there's like pieces of your friend fucking floating in the air and then it's over. And they didn't have enough of him to even really like fucking justify wasting a body bag. Like, he's fucking just gone. Like they picked up what they could. His weapon was blown in half. Like his fucking AK was blown up. His helmet was all fucked up. They found a boot, and that was what they got. That's what they recovered. And I don't know why I was able to keep it going with all that other shit, But then Chippy dying, just fucking. I mean, it just broke me. And the thing is, like, we had been talking. We were like, hey man, why don't let's do, it was, that happened in July. So after that mission we did, like a week prior, the end of June, I was like, hey dude, why don't we get out of here? Let's take July off. Because I had a girlfriend in Lviv and he had a girlfriend in Lviv. Everyone loves Lviv. Let's go to Lviv and just hang out, party, see the girls, take a month off, and then in August we'll apply to like Gore, SSO, fucking whatever, all the Azov. We'll apply to all these groups and see if we can go do something cooler. We'll hit the gym, we'll fucking rest. It'll be cool. And he's like, all right, let's do this. We'll do July. We'll take August off. We'll go sign another contract in September, and then we're in training in the fall when it's nice and cool out. And you know what I mean? I was like, okay, because we'd already had like all our missions got written, like our schedule was made for the month. Like I had everything I was supposed to do planned 3 weeks to 4 weeks ahead. So, okay, instead of fucking our other friends over and leaving, I'll plan everything, right? I had 2 weeks off anyway, but I was like, okay, so I'm only going to be here. For me, it made sense because I only had 2 weeks of work that month. I was already supposed to take leave. And, they actually extended my leave like another 4 days when Chippy died. They let me go like 4 days early so I could go to the funeral. But that's my worst day. That's the worst day of my life, next to the day my mom died. But even then, I don't compare that because she was like on a bunch of drugs in a hospice bed. She was on so much morphine. She was basically gone anyway and didn't know didn't even feel it. But then Chippy, like, I'm not going to lie. I looked at him and I know he felt that shit. I know that hurt. And that's the one thing I'm never going to forget. And I wanted to get that story. I'm glad you asked when you did because I wanted to tell that story early and get it out of the way. I'd rather tell you all about funny shit and the adventure and the fun. Because, like, people get this idea that, yeah, war is bad. We all know that. But, like, you forget, like, you make the best friends you ever have. You do some fun shit, man. Me and Chippy had so much fucking fun together. I'm never going to get that again.
I've heard it from some military personnel who say that they don't make friends because they can't process mentally losing them.
Yeah. And the thing with that is, I even told Chippy that when we first met, like 3 months before. I even told him, like, brother, I liked him, and I'd met him a couple times just around, like, but we knew the same people. We're all friends with the same people. But like, when he first like moved in to the house I was living in, I even fucking told him, I was like, man, I try not to make friends just because it's hard losing people. You make a really good buddy, you have a good time, and then not that long after, he's gone. And I wish to hell sometimes, I'm glad, I would not trade the friendship I had with him for anything. But if I sometimes wonder if I would have been better off had I kept my distance emotionally. I tell these stories because, like, you have to think, this is history. I wish my granddad had talked more about Korea, because, like, this is history. And, like, this isn't just my story. This is going to belong to whoever's after us, like, in the next 100, 200, 300 years. This isn't just me. It hurt. I don't want to tell this shit. I don't want to think about it. Like, I think about it all the time, and I don't want to think about it as vividly as I do. I don't want to tell this fucking story, but it's like I have to, because people need to know. Like, this is what happens. This is what happens when you invade another country. Some nice young man, some little hippie kid from fucking Harvey is pronounced Harvey, by the way, from Harvey Bay, fucking Queensland, gets to fucking die. It's pronounced Harvey, not Hervey. That's what he kept telling me. And I do this like every fucking day. I get to see his face, his and like I told you, I could recognize his eyes, but he was hurt in so bad. His mouth, they and I see that every time I go to sleep. It's these big, sad blue eyes.
Okay. You okay?
I try to laugh when I'm crying because it makes me not hurt as bad.
Let's take a break. What should people seriously understand before even thinking about coming to Ukraine to fight?
Okay. If you come here to fight, you have to understand this is your job and it has to be done. And if you're going to quit, do it before you go on mission or do it right after you get back. The time to give up, the time to say, I don't really want to do this, is not when you have to walk 20 kilometers out of a position under artillery fire and drones. Okay. You don't quit on mission. When you decide you've had enough and it's time to go home, more power to you. I'm glad. Whatever you think is best. But when you're doing it, no matter how hungry, tired, cold, whatever, you got to do your job because people are counting on you. Your friends who don't deserve to fucking die. People are counting on you to do this, to be there and do your part. However, when you start getting that feeling like I need to get out of here, it's time to go home, you should listen to it. You really should. When the day comes, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. Then don't. And good for you for showing up and good for you for knowing when to quit. This has got to be the hardest war in modern. When I say, like, as for the guy on the ground, the guy experiencing it firsthand, I don't have the Air Force to come save me. And, there's so much you have to worry about that could kill you or hurt you or impede your ability to work. Understand that the average guy in Ukraine, foreigner, Ukrainian, whatever, is he's in the hardest situation imaginable. We don't have a CRAM, which is a remote, like a remote operated machine gun that shoots down incoming artillery and rockets and drones and stuff. There's not one here. They're not. They're a big target. There's no, logistically infeasible. We don't have the Air Force to go kill the enemy drone operators and artillery crews before we go on mission. We don't have that. You just got to eat it. It's the worst, and that's why the people doing it have to be the best. And what I mean is, you don't have to be a rock star. You don't have to be in the best shape. You can do this and be like an average guy. You do need to be in shape, but you don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be a genius, but you got to be able to think like rapid fire. You're capable of a lot more than you think. You're capable of like another 200% than you think you are. Really, whatever you think, this is my limit, physically, emotionally, mentally, you could do that another 2 times over. And people do it every day. I don't really encourage anyone to come here. I don't discourage them either. If you want to do it, fucking awesome. Do it. And if you don't, good for you. I don't think you're less of a man or whatever. You're not unmanly for like, I don't want to go die in a field getting hit by a flying or IED. Understandably so. You know, it's hard. I want it to end. And I think it will relatively soon. Like, just, I mean, I keep my finger on the pulse, right? Like, if everyone here and everyone on the other side feels like I do, they're fucking exhausted. And I don't know how much longer they can possibly keep this up. So who knows? I mean, I don't predict the weather, right? Yeah, I'm not a fortune teller. Better days to come.
Thanks for watching until the very end. We took our time recording this. Conversations like this are not easy, but they're important because they remind the world of what a war really looks like.